Very warm welcome to you all on the 5th day of 6th batch of Executive Development Program. My sincere gratitude to ICAI President CA Nehar Jambusaria sir, ICAI Vice President CA Dr. Devashish Mitra sir, ICAI Acting Secretary CA Dr. Jaykumar Batra sir, and Central Council members of ICAI. This series is an initiative of Committee for Members in Industry and Business under the leadership of Chairman CA Hansraj Chugh sir and Vice Chairman CA Durgesh Kabra sir. With the vision of Chugh sir and Durgesh Kabra sir, we have come so far that we are in the last leg of this series. We started this series for Jan 2021 qualified members on April 21st, and all the sessions which have happened are available in the recorded webcast area. Today is a day when we have our speakers, first speaker from Auckland, New Zealand, and it's 12:30. And then we have a speaker joining from Muscat, Oman, which is 2.5 hours behind India. Our first speaker, Ohori, has qualifications in accounting, management, and information technology. He has experience gained over 25 years working in a range of cultural and geographical environments. C.A. Chandan is a founder chairman of our Auckland, New Zealand chapter. Chandan has worked with clients to provide value-added services in the areas of digital transformation, data analytics, information systems consulting, business continuity, information risk management, supply chain change management, business process mapping, program management, and lean thinking. He has industry experience which includes education, retail, manufacturing, telco, financial services, construction, and consulting services. Chandan, we are very happy to have you here today, and thank you for our invitation. Today, we have our members who qualified in May 2018 and subsequently. And many of our members, have been very encouragingly participating in this series. And as the sessions are available offline also, so many have been watching it subsequently. So today, I'm sure as the things are progressing, you will be covering the topic traits of an entrepreneur. And I'm sure many of our members must be looking forward to. I'm not sure how many of the ones who are present here have, we had a couple of sessions on entrepreneur earlier. And also we had one panel discussion of entrepreneurs from different parts of the world. But I'm sure the experience which you have gained in other part of the world, like we had very limited speakers from Oceania, will significantly help our members to understand. So when you cover the traits of an entrepreneur, you can cover some things in your session regarding New Zealand also. And we are very happy once again to have you here. And I request all our members to please give a big virtual round of applause for C.A. Chandan. And Chandan, the screen is yours. Thank you. Thank you. And over to you.
Thank you, CA Prabdeep Singh ji. Absolute pleasure to be here with all our young members. And the idea would be to share as much of my knowledge over the last 25 years that I have gained. The forum of this lecture, of this session, would be keeping in mind a virtual session. We'll do it as a lecture style, where for the first 40-45 minutes, I'll share my ideas, and it would be leveraging the research from Harvard Business School, and we'll also have 10 minutes at the end to ask any questions. If there are any burning questions in this platform, please do raise them as we go. We will accumulate them and answer them at the end. So thank you very much for the introduction. What I'll do is I'll share my screen and run the session also with a PowerPoint presentation. So, okay. The session for today is Traits of an Entrepreneur. And what I'll do is, first of all, start by acknowledging the committee for members in industry and business for providing me the opportunity to share published research on traits of an entrepreneur, along with my personal views as well as my own journey. I would like to specifically thank our chairman, CA Hansraj Chugji, for the committee, and vice chairman, CA Durgesh Kabraji, for their leadership in organizing this event, and all the other members of the committee. So just a very quick background about myself to put it in perspective. I have been a member, chartered accountant, since 1996, before moving in 2002 to New Zealand. Some of my recent experiences: founder, managing director of Duco Consultancy, and before that I was managing partner for IBM New Zealand, as well as managing partner for IBM Australia for all strategic projects. I was also the Microsoft practice lead for KPMG ASPAC region, or APAC region as we call it, as well as the head of consulting and IT advisory for both KPMG and BDO. In terms of professional qualifications, I'm a FCA from India. I'm also a chartered accountant in New Zealand. I'm a CPA Australia. I've done my MBA and executive programs from INSEAD. I'm a certified information systems auditor. I am also a certified fraud examiner. Some of my key clients includes Metcash, Myers, Suncorp in Australia, and then all the major banks across Australia, New Zealand, including ANZ, Westpac, Commonwealth Bank, ANZ, telcos, Vodafone, Spark, 2degree, and in terms of public sector, Ministry of Social Development and New Zealand Customs. So that's been my journey over the last, I would say, 19 years in New Zealand. Before that, I was working with various CA organizations, even in India, for a short period of six to 7 years. Okay. So before I can present my views on an entrepreneur, I just wanted to share with you my entrepreneur journey. So all the boxes in green are where my entrepreneurship interactions have been, and the blue ones have been my career profile. So born 1974, chartered accountant at the age of 22, India, and then immigrated to New Zealand at the age of 28. And I call that as an entrepreneur move because it involves a lot of uncertainty when you come to a new country. Your qualifications are not recognized and you have to start all over again. There is no job. So it calls for a lot of uncertainty, like as is evident for an entrepreneur to move to a new country without a job, without any support and backing. Chartered accountant in New Zealand, I was categorized, also won the award for the Young Chartered Accountant of the Year by the CA Institute of New Zealand. Went on to become the head of consulting for BDO New Zealand in 2008. 2010, IT consulting KPMG, and then Microsoft practice leader for ASPAC. 2015, I acquired 100% of an education institute, AGI, and that was, again, the second step after 13 years in New Zealand to start my own business as a non-founder. Kept growing my education organization from 2015 to 2021 today, and then also became a managing partner for IBM in Australia. Then acquired Peter Minton Goldsmith in 2017, 100%. And then also started the Duco consulting business, resigned from IBM and started Duco Consultancy, which now is all over New Zealand, Australia, US, India. And our plans are on a standstill with Singapore and UK because of COVID. 2018 also acquired a fashion, Sutek Fashion, 100%, and 2019 Hungry Creek in there. 2020, in 2 years, Duco was adjudged the best emerging business in New Zealand. And then the next box, 2021 yellow this year. We are in the Deloitte Fast 50, and I'm hoping we should be in the top 5 to top 10 New Zealand businesses in 2021. So just wanted to share my journey and then things that I have personally related myself and what are the three key things that successful entrepreneurs represent or are. So the first of all I would like to share is be practical. So entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs make the plan, but they change as it goes. No plan can be cast in stone and be rigid. You always need to make sure that in an agile world, in an ever-changing world, you are practical, but you are ready to change, and always keep an eye on good returns at the end of the day. You cannot keep spending or investing. You need, and return can be measured both financially and non-financially. It's just what are your goals, short-term, long-term goals that you have aspired. Make sure all the goals within as part of the plan are SMART goals, as I call them, which is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and must have a timeline. The next thing that I always focus on, be purposeful. So people with a practical outlook, looking at opportunities that add value as opposed to an opportunity that just seems cool or just sounds cool. So a good entrepreneur makes sure that when the opportunities arise, you can make something out of it. We all talk about ideas. We can go to Mars, we can go to Pluto, we can go beyond the Milky Way. But what is that opportunity? Just cool idea, sounds good, or is that something which is practical and can happen? And lastly, something very important and close to my heart is being impatient. We have all heard patience is a virtue. But in a lot of the times, or in some cases, for an entrepreneur, so is impatience. You can keep thinking, you can keep waiting. The opportunities may pass on. But sometimes being impatient, as we say, catch the bull by the horns, it is important that we do that, as an example. Okay, so some of the concepts to be comfortable with for an entrepreneur are innovation. Now, innovation is not only product. It can be services. It can be a process. It can be a way of doing things. So think about innovation beyond a product or a service. Idea, very important for an entrepreneur. And making sure that the idea that you have, you're comfortable with, you understand what the idea is, and you believe in the idea so that it can be purposeful and practical. The next thing is make sure you understand what the business model is. I have come across many businesses that I've worked with in terms of transformation, and they are trying to be differentiate, and they are trying to be cost leader at the same time. Now, that does cause a lot of pain. So just making sure that you are comfortable with your business model and what is it going to be. Similarly, target operating model. How are you going to make sure, once you've done your business model, how are you going to operate it? And what are the key attributes of your operating model? So understand what an operating model is, what the key concepts are, and how to basically launch it, prepare it, implement it as an example. Moving on to the next concept of plan. I cannot stress the importance of having a plan for an entrepreneur, but more importantly, making sure that the plan is being revisited regularly for relevancy. A lot of the times we can start with a very, very good plan, but as you evolve, as things change, you need to make sure that the plan can adapt to it or adopt to those environment. Strategy. I always try and convince businesses to look at business strategy and then look at operational strategy. And they are two very different concepts. What is the strategy for the business as a whole? And then once you have a buy-in, how are you going to operationalize that strategy? So a lot of the times we mix strategy as one word, but try and think about business strategy, operational strategy. And then when we look or talk about operational strategy, you could have concepts of marketing, sales, operations, the various concepts of a value chain. Competitive advantage, again, what is it that you as an entrepreneur would offer or have that will bring a competitive advantage to you, your stakeholders, or your ecosystem? We will talk a lot about comfort and uncertainty and go into the concept of that. But as an entrepreneur, one of the key things to understand is how comfortable you are with uncertainty. Okay, and that is a very, very important trait, comfort with uncertainty, and we will discuss more about that. And then on the extreme right are concepts that a lot of us would be very familiar with, making sure we have processes. We, as an entrepreneur, you need to make sure that you understand compliance, and while you are focusing on growth, concepts, ideas, innovation, you need to make sure that you are always looking at compliance, risk management, and not just risk management, but mitigating the risk to the extent where, as an entrepreneur, you are not affecting your entire ecosystem. As an example, understanding finance and financial management is another concept. And then people, and it's just not people, it's relationships, it's empathy, it's understanding the needs and the role that the people will play in your success. And lastly, ecosystem, or which includes relationships. Now, a good entrepreneur clearly understands the difference between relationships and acquaintances. And very often we try and confuse acquaintance with relationships. Acquaintance is when you know someone. Relationship is when you can leverage the sense of belonging, the sense of knowledge, the sense of friendship, whatever you may call it, to mutual advantage or to your advantage, as an example. So very important to understand the difference between relationships and acquaintances. Okay, so now that we have discussed the concepts, I want to come to themes, skills and behaviors, and I have studied them for a very long time, but I relate to these skills, behaviors, traits through a Harvard Business School research, which is called Skills and Behaviors That Make Entrepreneurs Successful. And I'm leveraging that research for the presentation today. Okay, so some of the concepts that this research brings out, and then I can relate to, I've categorized them into these points, is identification of opportunities. It's very important for a successful entrepreneur to identify opportunities. Are they valid? Are they relevant? Are they ahead of their time, or are they behind their time? So today I'll give you an example. We talk a lot about cloud and absolutely get fascinated by the power of cloud. But we had cloud applications from memory in 2001, 2000, even before that. Hotmail was a great example for an Outlook as a cloud app. You could go to the browser, you could log in, you could have an email. We used to use that for backing up our documents by emailing it to ourselves. Yahoo, Rediff, all of them had applications. We had MSN messengers, Yahoo Messenger, which is very similar to what WhatsApp and Viber or Snapchat, maybe it's different, but definitely WhatsApp and Viber does, what ICQ and MSN messengers and Yahoo Messenger could do. But what it didn't have was mobility. So it was very hard to put a desktop in your pocket and move around. While today we have these apps, WhatsApp, etc., on our phone, and then we can just take the messaging service with us. While in 1998, the opportunity was just not there to take it to the masses, even though the functionality onto that path. Next is comfort with uncertainty. Now that is very, very important. When you start a new business venture, you come up with a new idea or an existing idea, you do not know the future to a very certain level. There is a level of uncertainty, and a good entrepreneur is comfortable with that uncertainty. The next one is assembling and motivating a team. I have come across many entrepreneurs who have worked tremendously hard, but then they can only work 14, 16, 18 hours a day. And after that, they will burn out. What they also don't understand is that they're trying to run a marathon, not a 100-meter dash. So to be successful, they need to assemble a motivating team. So it's not just assembling a team, it is also about keeping them motivated and making sure they go on a journey with you. The next message we talk about is decision making. Now, it's not just about decision making. The research calls it as efficient decision making, and it is very much about not being impulsive. How do you take the views of others, but at the same time, don't let the views of the others dilute your idea, your vision, your influence. So it is about balancing. It is about being efficient, quick, as well as thoughtful with your decision making. The next one topic the trait I talk about is building networks. And I touched upon it previously in terms of relationships, in terms of ecosystem, in terms of network, and realizing it that as an entrepreneur or as a startup, even more difficult that your network has to support you, but more importantly, trust you. Whether it is your bank, whether it is your consultant, whether it is your suppliers, they need to believe in you. And that's is part of building that network to ensure that you can leverage them as required from time to time. So the ability to build that network, build those relationships are very, very important for a good entrepreneur. It's highly likely that you will fail if someone doesn't have a good network as an entrepreneur. Then we talk about collaboration and team orientation. So we did say assembling a good team, motivating a team. But then how do you make sure that there is collaboration and the teams work well together? So again, very important to make sure that there is a good level of collaboration. The teams here need to recognize their strengths and weaknesses. We need to leverage the strengths of certain individuals over the others who may actually be very strong in other areas. So just like an entrepreneur, there are traits of the people. Some people are starters, some people are finishers, and we need to make sure that within the team we have the right balance of these traits, where if some people will start, others may force us to finish. Some will try and bring it together and not let it go out of control. So very important that there is we are able to recognize those traits in our team members as part of the orientation and encourage collaboration. The next trait we talk about is management of operations. So it is not only important that we have a good idea, vision, it is also important that we can run the operations effectively and successfully. So it is, when we talk about operations, it's a combination of sales, marketing, inward logistics, procurement, outward logistics, manufacturing. So as a good entrepreneur, depending on the type of business, you are basically looking at end-to-end supply chain, or even beyond that in terms of value chain, and making sure that it runs smoothly. A lot of the times you will have a great idea, great product, you launch it, there's great adoption, the simple concepts around procurement, making sure you have enough stock, making sure you have arrangements for outward logistics. So all of those things coming together is part of your management of operations. Support activities, moving on to, going into finance and financial management, and then being comfortable with your finances. So again, I've worked with individuals who have started with very little money, but then after the first few rounds, they're flush with money, and then that's when a good entrepreneur, and more importantly startup, needs to recognize about the financial management, health, how to keep track. Yes, the funds may be quite a lot, but then you also need to look at how do I use these funds, how long do I have to leverage them, how much time do I have before I can actually be self-reliant and in terms of operational revenue. So very important that you understand your finances as an entrepreneur. The other thing I talk about is sales. So sales is something which people are not comfortable to talk about, and we have very often heard about sales guys will say anything or do anything, but an entrepreneur needs to recognize that's where the revenue comes from, and they need to encourage not only sales but also ethical sales. So sales is good, ethical sales is even better, but we all need to recognize that if you don't get the sales, if you don't monetize your operating model, the business is not going to be successful. So one of the most important aspects of business, not understood really well, specifically, by entrepreneurs who understand the product, who appreciate and love the product or service, or whatever their target operating model is, but then are not able to, understand how important sales are in the whole equation. And lastly, the traits around preference for established structures. So as an entrepreneur, do you want established structures, or are you for all about, deciding things as you go, basically? So it is important to understand what is your preference. How do you like to operate as an entrepreneur? Do you want established structures? Do you want informal structures? And what do you feel would work well for your organization, for yourself, for your people? Okay, so moving on to now the concepts around entrepreneurial leadership, differences between founders and non-founders. So a very important concept. Entrepreneurs, there are some entrepreneurs who would start up businesses. So if I take my example as I gave, I would be a founder for my consulting business, Duco, but I would be a non-founder for my other businesses that I have acquired. So I have done mix and match, but then a lot of the entrepreneurial leaders, usually startups, are founders, and people who buy businesses from others are non-founders. So again, if I look at where does the differences are between the founder and non-founders, basically, then identification of opportunities significantly higher for the founders. And that is obviously evident from the fact that basically a non-founder will go and buy a business. It's not like they have identified an opportunity for a new product or a new service or a new process. They buy a business which is already leveraged that. While for a founder, the ability to identify opportunities is much higher. Similarly, founders have a significantly higher vision and influence as a trait because they have to bring the people on the journey. When I say people, hear it as stakeholders. They need to make sure that people come along the journey. And the reason for that is the next point, which is comfort with uncertainty. So again, very high. So they are very comfortable with uncertainty as compared to non-founders. Non-founders are looking for a business which is already well established. It already has a stream of revenue. It may not be making profit in some cases, but they are fine because they know how to take it to the path of profitability. But founders actually don't even know whether there will be any profit, forget revenue. And hence they need a vision and they need to influence the ecosystem around them. The next two traits around assembling and motivating a team and efficient decision making, not much significant difference between founders and non-founders. It is important for both of them to make sure either they assemble a team or they retain a team. Similarly, decision making is not something that will stop. Whether you are a founder or a non-founder, it will just carry on. But when it comes to building a network, again, significantly higher for founders. And the reason for that, again, is that they have to bring the entire relationships and stakeholders with them to build that network, compared to a non-founder which already has a business. People know about it. They already have some stakeholders with them, and they are leveraging those networks. Okay, so the next 2 points of collaboration and team orientation, as well as management of operations, not much difference. No significant difference. Both founders and non-founders seem to have an equal ability around management and team operations. But for founders, surprisingly, finance and financial management is significantly higher. And it could be because of the prudence of a founder business, the tight money situation or the finances being tight maybe makes them better on that trait. But they have, based on the survey and research, they have been found to have significantly higher trait in terms of finance and financial management. And then when it comes to sales, not much difference between the two. Very, very similar. But no surprises. Preference for established structure, significantly lower for founders. So a founder would like to be an engineer, plus a CFO, at times the chief sales officer, at times the chief procurement officer. So they don't have the privilege to, or the ability to have established structures compared to a non-founder who is going in and buying a business, still an entrepreneur, but not as diverse or someone with much lower acceptance of for preference for established structures. So no surprise there. We have seen many successful founder entrepreneurs starting their business from a garage and being that one-man army, total disregard for established structure. Steve Jobs was a great example, and would just get along in doing that stuff. So just bringing it all together between founder and non-founder, how they relate to in terms of these common traits, is a good study. Okay, now digging deeper into serial founders and non-serial founders. So serial founders would, an example that comes to our mind is Elon Musk. He started with PayPal, then Tesla, then SpaceX. He was a founder for all three businesses, and that's who we call as serial founder, one after the other. While a non-serial founder would be someone, as an example, Steve Jobs, who will create Apple, and that's one business that they are passionate about and they'll go about it. So let's touch upon things that are different, where serial founders would have even a higher level of acceptance or qualities, for traits or actions. So identification of opportunities significantly higher for serial founder as compared to a non-serial founder, obviously, so that they can have multiple startups, multiple businesses, multiple ventures. So they have it higher. Obviously, they are much more comfortable with uncertainty because they are starting one venture after the other. As founders, they have worked hard on one, now they're ready for the second and the third. They are much comfortable in assembling and motivating a team every time, while a founder, a one-time founder, is happy. They have done it once, but they don't have the appetite to do it again and again. Similarly, building networks, very different for serial founders. If you take the example of PayPal, Tesla, or SpaceX, the network for funding, the network for procurement, the network for sales, the network for R&D, very different for all three businesses. As an example, the next team orientation, management of operations, the research and the survey doesn't find much difference. But finance and financial management, again, the ability to manage finance, but more importantly, procure finance, significantly higher for a serial founder. Sales, significantly higher again in there. So just some further refining between between serial founder and non-serial founder. Now, I want to make one thing clear, that it is not that the non-serial founders are lower in some of these traits. It's just comparative. And when we talk about serial founders, they have a higher appetite, even higher than one-time founders, as an example. Okay. Sorry. We are coming to the end of our slides, so moving on to the second last one. Okay, so the traits between male and female founders, and again, I'll touch upon the 4 where there is difference. So we find that based on this research, that the vision and influence, significantly higher trait in female founders as compared to male founders. So the female founders have been able to exercise a better vision, sell it to the teams, have a greater influence. Doesn't mean the male founders don't have that. It's just that the female ones have it significantly higher. On the other side, the male leaders or entrepreneurs are more comfortable with uncertainty. So we have found that the male leaders are able to take a higher level of risk. They are comfortable with the level of uncertainty at times that the female leaders may not be. The third difference is management of operations, and again, the female entrepreneurs and leaders are found to have a significantly higher trait index when it comes to management of operations compared to their male counterparts. However, the male counterparts have been known to have a higher ability to arrange for finances and that also manage the finances better in terms of financial management. In all other traits, there is no significant difference between a male and a female founder, as an example. So again, so we have touched upon founders and non-founders. We have touched upon serial founders and one-time founder, and we have also touched upon female and male founders. So that brings us to the end of my speaking and sharing my ideas and research. I hope you found it useful. For the last 10 to 12 minutes, I'm going to hand you back to CA Prabdeep Singh ji
Yeah.
to help us moderate any questions that we have.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks. Thank you so much, Chandan, for your extremely significant presentation and sharing the views. I would request the participants if you have any questions, as we still have 10 minutes to go. If you have any questions, please share. And Chandan, we have one question here from Anil, who is asking that what made you choose New Zealand as one of your business destination?
So I was talking to someone from New Zealand, and I just asked them a general question. I said, "How many hours do you work in New Zealand?" And he said, "We work 37 and a half hours to 40 hours a week." At
Right.
that time, I was 28 years old. I was a young chartered accountant, and I said, "Oh my God, they only work 2 to 3 days a week." So that sounds like a very attractive destination. I was an audit. I was in audit, and in the audit season, it was very common for us to work 15, 16 hours a day continuously for 2 or 3 months. So I said, "Oh, that sounds like a very good destination." So that was the key reason for me to move to New Zealand. But once I turned up and joined the Big Four here, I found out that nothing changes in the world. It's the same hard work, whether it's India or New Zealand.
Right. Chandan, when I was studying in school, we had one, not a young student. He must be, have done a graduation, and he was staying in our school for a month. And at that point of time, to engage him with the students, we used to have some sessions with him, general talk sessions, and sometimes he used to get them some exercises with us. And and he was from UK. We asked him that which country he liked the most, because he had traveled to more than 50 countries, I think, by that time, and he was somewhere in his late 20s. And he said that I like New Zealand the most. And then we asked him the reason why you like the New Zealand the most. He said that girls are very beautiful in New Zealand. so,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I won't comment. My wife is moving around, still moving around. So I just won't comment.
yeah, so this is the reason, which I got in early years. But we have, many members. In fact, I have a chartered accountant couple who lives just a few meters away from my home in Dehradun, and they also relocated to New Zealand around 4 years ago. And what I found out, as you mentioned, that the working hours are less. But I believe that, working hours may be same or less, but the comfort of life, I think, makes a significant difference, which appears in the country. Am I right?
Yeah, no, definitely see, Prabhu. The quality of life is very good. As an example, the balance of life is good, and the work culture is very different. So it does take a while to get used to it, and especially getting used to the fact that you have to work as a team, and the chain is only as strong as the weakest link. So you don't have to kill yourself by just working hard. It's about working smarter together as a team, rather than one person working really hard and the others are still not able to cope up. So the quality of life, family time, is has been a big factor in for me to enjoy. We have now grown our businesses across Australia, US, and India, but we carry on the same ethos of quality of life for all our people.
We have here our second speaker of the session, CA Mubin. He is a past chairman of our Muscat chapter. Mubin, if you are there and if you would like to interact with Chandan before he signs off and you take over, and if you can,
Yeah,
if you are, yes,
I'm very much there, Pradeep ji. Namaskar.
yes. So Mubin, do you have
Can,
any question from Chandan regarding entrepreneurship or New Zealand?
yeah, entrepreneurship actually what I agree with Mr. Chandan that definitely the quality of life. People say that maybe when we go out of India, I would say when I came to Oman, even I used to think that uh, the work is not that much. But like Chandan, I also joined Deloitte, and I was leading the fraud and dispute services. And then they gave me internal audit services. Then they gave me human capital consulting, and they gave me control assurance. So then after some time, what I realized that whether you have lot of work or you don't have work, it's a personal choice. Like when my team
Right,
used to do the work and the report is ready, I mean, for me, actually, the people reporting to me, there were 15 people. I mean, most of them chartered accountants. So, it was just being the head of the department, whether I review it, whether I review the report or I review the file, or I review whether the team has covered the entire audit program. It all depended on me, but I took that hard approach that I will check whether the team followed the program, and not only followed the program, whether they followed the updated program. So like I used to leave my office, to be honest, by 9 p.m. every day. So, what I thought before coming here that work will be less, as he rightly pointed out, I was also in India working in the audit firms,
right,
and I mean something called weekend. I don't remember I had. I mean officially yes, there was weekend, but I don't
right,
remember I had it. But when I came here, my life was same. I was
right,
still working on weekend. So like it all depend on us, and definitely when I worked hard, I was recognized, and like I think the only one guy who was promoted from senior auditor to senior manager within 2.5 years. So
right,
it took exceptional approval from the Deloitte head office. But my portfolio was increasing like that. When I was a manager, I was handling a portfolio that should be handled by a partner. So they had to make me senior manager at least. So like
right,
when you work hard, it is rewarded. But I think it all depends on us whether we are in India or this part of the world. I would not say that people who are here they don't work. I mean,
right,
to be honest, the work is not less. But
right,
yes, there are some lucky ones who have, like you can say, I mean, who are not required to work that much. So I think this is a
yeah,
personal choice. What I will say.
right, right, right. Thanks, Mubin, for sharing your story. Chandan, we have one more question from Anil. He has asked that on what basis you choose this as your future business. If you have any thoughts on this.
Is it the Duco consulting business? I'm assuming that's what they are referring to.
Right,
So I have been in consulting with BDO, then KPMG, then IBM for almost 20 odd years. And what we found was that the clients follow the partner or the
right,
people who are going to do the work. Obviously, the organization is important, but the relationships carried on. So after
right,
you had built enough mana in Australia and New Zealand, and you had you had a fair amount of relationships, I felt it was time to leverage those relationships where I was able to take the team from IBM, from KPMG into my own consulting business. and the clients recognized because they had worked with us in the Big Four to say, actually, where we need a compliance certificate, we will go to KPMG or IBM. But if we need execution and delivery, we can actually leverage it from Duco Consulting, which is Chandan's business. So in the first 2 years, we grew from zero to more than 100 consultants. We got recognized as the best emerging business in New Zealand last year. And we are hoping that in this year, with 600% growth, actually, with Deloitte Fast 50, we should be in the top 10. But that's a question mark, but that's assumptions based on of last year's. So we've had a phenomenal growth in there, but it is because of, I always, and I mentioned it in my talk, recognizing relationships versus acquaintances. Acquaintances with relationships. But if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, whether in consulting or other businesses, you need to know how strong your relationships are rather than how many acquaintances do you have. And when I realized that, I started my own business.
Yeah, sometimes now we are living in a corona times, but earlier when we used to attend events and we used to exchange business cards, sometimes, as you said, that acquaintance, some people have a confusion regarding that whether you exchange a business, and we may start thinking like we may get a business from him very soon, as soon we exchange a business, but at that point of time, it's just an acquaintance. And some of the researchers, I believe, they say that it may take almost 2 years for you to develop a relationship. And you may get a business, because if you have not engaged with anyone in any project when you were part of any other organization as a team member or an employee, then the relationship is a different. So we should know that when we are exchanging a business card, our expectation should not be direct business, but we may find out ways that we continue, let's say, talking to that individual in some way which is not disturbing that particular individual. And 6 months, 1 year or 2 years, it may take time for us to get a business. So that's a very critical point you mentioned, that we should not get confused between acquaintance and relationship. Like in the social media, we may have 10,000 or 20,000 connections on LinkedIn, but that doesn't mean that we may know all of them or we have a relationship. Thank you so much, Chandan. Wonderful thoughts you have shared. It's past midnight. I think 1:30 or so, it's there in New Zealand, and you are awake. Thank you so much for taking out time and becoming part of this series, which is towards the end. And sincere gratitude from the Committee for Members in Industry and Business, from our Chairman, C. Hans Rachug, and Vice Chairman, C. Durgesh Kapra, sir. And we sincerely appreciate. We will reconnect with you and look forward to see your guidance at many other points in the future. And we extend our best wishes in your endeavors, and your support to our members. Fraternity has been very. We hope that the things spread significantly. And thank you so much. We will not ask you to stay on. So thank you. And look forward to meet you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, CA Prabdeep ji, and great interacting with all the members. Enjoy the next session, and I will catch the session tomorrow virtually. But all the best, and CA Mobeen ji, thank you very much for joining in early. Thank you.
Thank you, Chandan ji.
So thank you, Chandan. Thank you so much. So now we move on to our second session of the day. By CA Mubin Khan, who's joining from Muscat, Oman. And Mubin is the past chairman of the Muscat chapter of our institute, and he's the ex-vice president of Oman chapter of the Institute of Internal Auditors. He established and led internal audit service line in Deloitte, Oman, before joining Capital Market Authority, where he conducted several regulatory investigations and immensely contributed to radical regulatory reforms in the Sultanate of Oman to further strengthen corporate governance framework. Mubin had also worked on an United Nations mission in Africa on secondment. He is a chartered accountant, certified internal auditor, and certified information systems auditor. Mubin specializes in fraud investigations and is credited with discovery of several frauds, both in professional practice and as a regulator of capital market, leading strong regulatory actions and court convictions. He is a regular writer and commentator in the local and regional magazines and newspapers in the Middle East on topics that include governance, risk, compliance, and fraud. Mubin also delivered technical presentations in Oman and other GCC countries. His lectures were quite popular at the annual Financial Crime Conference jointly organized by Royal Oman Police and Bank Muscat, and he also delivered an address on fraud prevention to the state audit team at Sultanate of Oman. Mubin, thank you so much for being here with us today. And sincere gratitude to you for taking out time. I would like to tell, I think many of the audience which are present here might have seen your session in the 4th batch. We had got so positive feedback and a request that we had to call you again before we end this series. And today you will be talking about management lessons from the history of the world. All right, and your knowledge and your interest to share your experiences makes a significant difference in every time, not even, which I have witnessed over the past decade when you have been contributing significantly as an important member, and when you led the Muscat chapter and have been part of the committee for many years, and now you continue supporting our chapter as a mentor, being the past chairman. So your guidance in terms of knowledge and experiences has always made a big difference, and we are very happy that our young members would get an opportunity to learn from you. So today, what we will do, Mubin, that for 50 minutes initially you can take for your presentation, and in the last 10 minutes we can run for any questions which we may have from the audience, last 5 or 10 minutes. And I hope that would be okay. So that should be okay, right, Mubin? That's fine?
Yes, perfectly fine, Bharatji.
So I request all our participants to please give a big virtual round of applause to Mubin, our speaker, CA Mubin Khan. And Mubin, the screen is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. So my screen is visible now, Pradeep ji?
Yes, Mubin, we can see. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, friends, very good evening, and I really thank the committee for members in industry and business, and the chairman of the committee, CA Chug and CA Kabra ji, and CA Pradeep ji for giving me this opportunity for talking to you again. As actually I have been delivering lots of technical presentations, and I'm very happy that today I'm going to speak not on IFRS or not on the frauds, not on governance, but something which is which is my passion, reading the world history, leading the different religious scriptures. Don't be surprised if I quote something from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, just because I'm Mubin Khan, because I believe in one thing, that these scriptures are our cultural heritage, And all of us, irrespective of whatever religion we belong to, we should read them, because these are the scriptures of Bharat Varsha. So I read apart from my technical thing, I read our religious scriptures. I read our old books like Niti Shastras, and I also read a lot about the world history. And whatever I have learned from them, I will share with you. What actually I'm doing today, and I did in my last session, was more of it's now I'm addressing to my new age of chartered accountants, the future of the profession, all of you. And whatever I have learned in my last 20 years, it's my duty, it's my professional and personal duty to pass on my experiences to my next generation, so that my next generation of chartered accountants would be much better than this generation. When I was doing my training with my chartered accountant, I'm a student of CSB Zavrezi from Pune. Whatever I learned from him, whatever I learned during my last 20 years, spanning from the private sector to going to the government authority and becoming the regulator, from this side of table to other side of the table. And all that journey, whatever I have learned, this is what I will try to share with you. Friends, always remember, whether it is in our family traditions or professional traditions, once you become a chartered accountant, you are not any other individual. You are a chartered accountant, and you have to carry the name of this profession and the brand forward. And you should always remember one thing, that whatever you do will affect our brand in front of the eyes of others. So I would start this presentation with a quote from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which talks about preserving the traditions and the purity of the society, purity of our values. So Srimad Bhagavad Gita, there's a shlok which I always admire. It's Utsanna kul dharmananam manushananam jarardan narke niyatam vasu bhaktirtya nushrishma. यानी आपके कुल और रीति रिवाज, उसके अगर आप विपरीत जाकर कुछ कार्य करते हैं, भले ही वो आपके फैमिली ट्रेडिशंस हों, रिलीजियस ट्रेडिशंस हों, या आपके प्रोफेशन में, इन योर प्रोफेशन, द एथिक्स, when you do that, you have destroyed, you have utsannakul dharmananam. Like here, dharma is, I don't think dharma is something that can be related to only one faith. Dharma is a way of life. So the way of life that has been accepted right from the beginning. And let me tell you one thing. People, they talk about too much about the Oxford and Harvard and all Western management principles. I believe in one thing: whenever you have a dilemma in your life, before you go to these English literatures, which I believe they colonized the whole world, and whatever good was there, they studied our Vedas, they studied our religious scriptures, they studied our religious books, and whatever they learned from this, it was codified, and I would rather say was included, the learning that was included in their literature, and then now we are reading it and we think that our own scriptures are a little bit, some people have this Western mindset that are little bit inferior, or we don't get it. Believe me, my friends, whenever you have a dilemma in your life, go to your religious scriptures, go to the old books. Like we had this Nalanda University, that was world's best university, and whatever scriptures, what these colonizers did, they either destroyed our tradition, they either destroyed the knowledge base, they destroyed our future library, our historical libraries, and so that we had that feeling that we were educated by them. It's not like that. People came to India and they got educated from us. So I am starting this session with this shloka, that always remember that you have to make sure that all the traditions of your family, of your society, of your profession, you are only responsible to take them forward. You are only responsible to make sure that you do not bring any disrepute to your family, to your country, or to your profession. So always keep this, and I advise you, whenever you have a dilemma in life, please revert back to our religious scriptures. And the second book which I always read and the second person I admire is Acharya Chanakya. My friends, always remember that Niti Shastra written by Acharya Chanakya is one of the best book on economy, on politics, and on personal life. Acharya Chanakya has very beautifully said that na kaschit kaschachin mitram. It's not this shlok, it's another shlok. Na kaschit kaschachin mitram, na kaschit kaschachid ripu. Vyavarin jayanta mitrani vivastatha. Yani, nobody is your friend forever, nobody is your enemy forever. You make enemies and friends by your behavior, by your acharana. And this shloka, I would rather ask you to concentrate in the first three words, anabhyase visham vidya, yani your knowledge, your degree. My friends, when you become chartered accountant, this is not an end. When you become a chartered accountant, this is the beginning. You continuously improve your knowledge. Anabhyase visham vidya. If you become a chartered accountant and you stop learning, you stop updating yourself, the same vidya, the same knowledge will become like wish, like poison for you. So always remember, Acharya Chanakya also said, Yeshana vidyana tapona jnanam dhyanam nashilam na guruna dharma te mritai loke bhuvi bharbhuta manushya rupen margashcharanti. I really admire this shlok. This shlok says the person who doesn't have knowledge, Yeshana vidya na tapona dhyanam, no hard work, no dhyan, no service to others, no help to others, that person is like an animal. That person on this earth is like a waste, an animal who is roaming around in the form of a human. My friends, I pass on the second message to you whenever Acharya Chanakya, see what is the difference between Vedas and Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Niti Shastra. I believe that those religious scriptures, be Ramayana, be Quran, be Guru Granth Sahib, be Bible, those books, they always teach you, be good. Be always good. If somebody slaps you on one cheek, offer the second one. But why I love the Chanakya Niti, it talks about the practical solutions. Whenever you have a dilemma in life, whether you are at a workplace where you are becoming victim of politics, you are at a place where you don't know what to do, my friends, I will advise you, before you go to any management books, before you go to any so-called management expert, read Chanakya Niti. And I will assure you, whenever I have faced such issues in my workplace where there was a lot of politics, people were coming like on my head, I read Chanakya Niti and I had the answer. So this is my two advice to you. Please never ever think the religious scriptures are only to be read by any priest, by any pandit, or by any Maulvi. My friends, we have to read it not to become religious, but to learn from them. These are the real treasure of knowledge. Please read them whenever you can. Friends, now I'll go to success mantras. Now, what is success mantra? Success mantra, people say, if you have made money in life, you are successful. I think money is important in life. Money is very important. Money is not everything. I come from a family. My father used to sit on a roadside. He used to repair bicycles. My mother at home used to make bidis. My father and my mother, they couldn't get education. My past 7, 8 generations, they didn't see the school, but they had a vision that we are not going to leave our children the way we are. So I was usually, as per the society traditions, at the age of 10 or 12, we are sent to a bicycle shop or a become a bike mechanic or a car mechanic, but I was not sent there. Rather, my parents, they decided to work harder, keep working harder so that we can get education. And then they made me a chartered accountant, not only a graduate. When I became graduate, I had already broken the family record. But when I became a chartered accountant, and after that, I have always learned one thing: be humble, work hard. There cannot be any better success mantra than that. But what I have learned from the world history and I have applied in my life, I'll share with you. What will make you a leader and winner? Friends, there are so-called motivational speakers. Their job is only to give motivational speeches. There are very few people who will motivate you by their own story. And I will share with you my own story. And at the same time, I look at the history. Whatever I have learned from history and applied in my life, I'll share with you. What will make you a leader and winner? The number one is curiosity. I was curious. I was working in an optical shop in my city when I was doing my college, because I didn't have money to pay the fee. My family didn't have money. I had to support the family and study. One guy came to my shop and he said that I want to buy the best available optical spectacle glasses for my son. So I asked him, curiosity, what your son is doing? He said he is doing chartered accountancy. I never heard about chartered accountancy. Curiosity. I asked him, what is chartered accountancy? He said, you will not understand, Yaki, don't waste your time. I'll tell you one thing. My son, when he goes for work from Mumbai to Delhi, he goes in a plane. Now this is 1996. Traveling in a plane is a big thing. So I thought, Yaki, this must be something big. That he goes in an aeroplane and companies send by aeroplane from one city to other. Curiosity. I wanted to know more about chartered accountancy. I knew I'm very poor. I was selected when I was studying in Uttar Pradesh. I was selected in an engineering college for an engineering diploma, but I couldn't take admission because my parents didn't have whatever money was required for admission fee. So I thought it must be something big. Then I came to know this is a very competitive course later on. And I joined. Curiosity. Second thing is innovation. And third thing is speed. Now let me tell you how the curiosity has made the masters slave and slave masters. Let us go back to the colonization. How colonization, which started in the late 15th century by Spanish and Portuguese explorers, then it was taken over by French and British. How it started? Curiosity. This is Christopher Columbus, 1492. He is sailing to the new world, the unknown world, across the Atlantic Ocean. Curiosity. The curious Spanish sailors in 1491 and 1492, they sailed and they discovered present-day Mexico first, the North America, and then they entered into the South America, and then they went to North America. Curiosity. Only being curious will not make you successful and a winner. You also have to, in addition to be curious, you have to be innovative also. Innovation. After they discovered this new land, then Francis Pizarro and Cortes, they were two explorers, Spanish explorers. They went to Spain. They were called conquistadors, and they defeated the entire Inca and Aztec empire in 1521 and 1533. 200, only 200 or 250 Spanish soldiers, because they had the innovation. Because when they landed in the Latin America, that time the local warriors were still fighting with the weapons made of the bamboo sticks and the stone edges. But Spanish, they had invented the steel armor, like the entire, you can say 10,000 or 15,000 Inca soldiers or Aztec soldiers couldn't kill a single Spanish soldier because of their armor. That was the innovation of that time. So curiosity started the colonization, and innovation helped them to win the world. The masters of Inca and Aztec Empire became slaves. Now, again, if we talk about innovation, the same Spanish people, they failed to innovate. They ruled Inca and Aztec Empire for more than 450 years. But in 1898, the Spanish were still on their wooden ships. Americans were having now steel ships. So they failed to innovate further. Somebody else innovated. And the entire Spanish colonies and empire were lost in 1890. So once you innovate, you should not stop. You should continue innovating. You know, friends, British colonized in India. British colonized us because we were not united. Because we had people who were ready to betray the motherland. When the people the invaders kept coming from Afghanistan side, or when British came from the West Bengal side, it was not that we were not strong or we could not have defeated them. It was that we dished each other. And then they ruled on us. Now, again, I will talk about innovation. You know, British, after colonizing India, 1890s, they were having Maxim guns. And when they went to Africa, you see in the red and purple, they right from the South Africa to Egypt. He colonized 1/3 of Africa only with 2 Maxim guns. They had invented the gun, the innovation, that used to fire 60 shots in 1 minute. With 2 Maxim guns, they colonized the entire Africa. 1/3 of Africa. Innovation. Friends, it's not only curiosity and innovation that will make you a winner. Speed is also required. If you are curious, you innovative, but you are lazy. I mean, I'm lazy. I just want to take my own speed. That will also not make me successful. Now, what happened? Hitler, after Napoleon in Europe, Hitler was the next guy who even defeated France, like the Napoleon land. They went up to Eiffel Tower in Second World War. What they adopted was a military strategy called Blitzkrieg. They did something which was not done earlier. When they started from the attacking France from Ardennes area, so nobody had ever come from that area, that Persia or say Germany, to France in less than 1 week. So they thought that first engagement with German army, point of engagement will take at least 7 days. But Hitler was there in 48. Hitler's army was there in 48 hours. They didn't sleep. I mean, why? How could they become so a superhuman? That's another story. There was a drug that was invented that time. It was called Pervitin. So these soldiers were having Pervitin, and all of them were on that high dose, so they didn't feel tired. So apart from the strategy, blitzkrieg, whatever it is, but put together, it was like a storm that had conquered almost entire Europe. It was almost unstoppable, and they were attacking British Isle by air, and they were planning to go and occupy even Great Britain, but they couldn't do that. So the essence here was speed. They did it at an enormous speed. Again, what happened in World War II? They couldn't show the same speed in developing the nuclear weapon. Then Franklin Roosevelt in World War II, he developed and dropped the first nuclear weapon before Hitler. Again, essence was speed. So Hitler, if he could have maintained that momentum, because Hitler made some historical mistakes. Always learn from the history. In the First World War, the mistake that Germany had committed, that they were fighting to Russia on the other side of German borders, and this side they were fighting with France. So they had made everybody enemy. And Second World War, Hitler had a peace agreement with Stalin, but he decided to attack Russia also. So that was his mistake. So that is why it slowed down other things. And he had stupid allies like Japan that attacked Pearl Harbor, that made United States part of Second World War. We will discuss more about it, what we learn from world history in my next slides. So curiosity, innovation, and speed. If you want to be winner in life, always remember these things in your mind, friends. Now, to learn more from history, first I will tell you, we Indians are good storytellers. So I will tell you a story about Alexander the Great. Alexander defeated Persian Empire, which is present-day Iran, and Darius III had to run away. So he captured entire Persian Empire at the age of 23 years. It was 356 to 323 BC, 356 BC before Christ. Alexander was born, and he died at the age of 33 years in 323. Now what Alexander did, what Julius Caesar did, and what Napoleon did. Alexander, Julius Caesar, and Napoleon, they rose in the history of their respective period very fast, and they got destroyed very fast. Now we can learn a lot of lessons from this. Julius Caesar was the diplomat. Julius Caesar, to come in power, he allied with Marcus and Pompey. Marcus was, you can say, he was representing the business. So he offered that if I become the consul, I will make you more rich by reducing the taxes and giving you a lot of benefits. And he promised Pompey, who was a military general, that I will give your people a lot of land and a lot of money. So with their help, he became the consul. What brought down Alexander and what brought down Julius Caesar was the same reason. I will explain to you further in my coming slides. And the third historical figure I am taking today as an example is Napoleon. Napoleon came out of French Revolution. They wanted the kingdom, the king, to go, and they wanted to have a democracy. But when he became powerful, he wanted to become an emperor, like he wanted to become king again. And then how Napoleon was destroyed, that also I will share with you. So keep these three figures, and I will tell you about the story about them. Alexander was very fast, but he didn't know where to stop. Alexander started from Macedonia, and then first he entered the Persian Empire. If you see this, like arrows are showing how fast he was moving. Then he went to Egypt. Then again he came to like Babylon, and from there, like he came to Afghanistan, and there he came to present-day Pakistan, and then that Khyber Pass. From Khyber Pass, he entered India. And actually, my Acharya Chanakya time, like he came and he fought with Chandragupta Maurya, whom they referred as Chantratus. And actually, he couldn't defeat Chandragupta Maurya. Rather, the one Greek general, he offered his daughter in marriage to Chandragupta Maurya, and then they returned. Like I would say, I mean, whatever Greek historians have written, Alexander was not a winner in India. Rather, he couldn't destroy, he couldn't win Chandragupta Maurya. Okay, he could cross the border when Porus was there. His ambitions were unlimited. Alexander didn't know where to stop. In life, we have to know where to stop. Alexander, he married a Babylonian princess, and his friends and generals, they wanted him to marry a Macedonian lady, because they wanted the next Greek king to be pure Macedonian. Julius Caesar also. Now, Alexander was before Julius Caesar, but Julius Caesar didn't learn from Alexander. Alexander was poisoned by his own generals when they feared that Alexander's marriage with Babylonian prince will destroy, Utsanna Kul Dharmananam, Manushyanam Janardhan. He was destroying the Kul, Riti Rivaj, the traditions, and everybody became his enemy. Julius Caesar, after Alexander, who was inspired by Alexander, also committed the same mistake. He had a relationship with Cleopatra. And when Cleopatra came to Rome, his own Romans, killed Julius Caesar. He didn't learn from the history. Napoleon Bonaparte is a different story. He also didn't know where to stop. Napoleon, he conquered most of the Europe. Now the similarity between these three historical figures is Alexander, Julius Caesar, and Napoleon. When they used to fight in a very unconventional manner. One of the Austrian generals with which Napoleon was fighting as a commander of the army complained. He said, this guy, he doesn't have any ethics. Then the German top brass said, what ethics he doesn't have? He said, this guy, sometimes he will attack in the night, sometimes he will attack from the rear, sometimes he will attack from the hill, sometimes he will attack from the river, sometimes he will attack from right, sometimes, this guy doesn't have any ethics. Because this is the way Napoleon used to operate. He used to challenge convention, but challenge convention into battle, challenging convention in the battlefield and challenging the convention in your Kul and Riti Rivaj. That is what destroyed Alexander, destroyed Julius Caesar, and also destroyed Napoleon. So, what happened with Alexander? Alexander defeated the Persian army single-handedly. He came to India and he entered when Porus, this is a depiction of Porus fighting the Alexander army. He was a very successful general. What happened with Julius Caesar and Alexander? Julius Caesar, the diplomat, who could balance the business and the army by giving the reduction in tax, offering this, to keeping Marcus happy, keeping Pompey happy. But what he did, because he violated the pious traditions, the riti rivaj of the kul, and that is why his own friends in the Senate, they stabbed Julius Caesar and they killed Julius Caesar. What happened with Alexander the Great? He was poisoned in Babylon by his own friends, because both of them, they violated the very sensitive tradition of their time. My friends, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, much before this happened, had already said, Lord Shri Krishna tells to Arjuna, Ussannakul Dharmananam Mashananam Janardan, the person who does not respect the riti rivaj, the traditions, and जो कुल का विनाश करता है, जो कुल की रीति रिवाज और कुल के रहने के तरीके के खिलाफ जाता है, that person is destroyed. So this was already said in Srimad Bhagavad Gita much before this. So both of them, now this is what we learn from the world history. Now we will draw some management lessons from world history. Now I have only 2 slides left. In these 2 slides, I'm going to pick up one principle by other, and I'll give you more historical examples. Now the first one is, respect the old traditions and people's emotions. Always remember, friends, we are part of the society. Sometimes going against our old traditions, at the young age, we want to be a rebel. We want to do something different, which nobody did. Friends, do something different in another sense. For me, my last 7-8 generations, most of them never went to school. I was educated in a pure Hindi medium school, but I wanted to challenge the traditions in a positive way, not the negative way. I did not challenge my other traditions that I do something that will hurt the emotions. So challenge the status quo, but don't challenge the emotions. Alexander, he was a very successful general, but he challenged a very sensitive, he was striking a very sensitive nerve of Macedonians by marrying a Babylonian princess. Because after that, his own friends became his enemy. Julius Caesar was a very successful general who conquered new land. Julius Caesar even crossed the English Channel, and he went and he stayed for 1 year in the British Isle. Hitler could never go. Julius Caesar had crossed after winning the Gaul area. Gaul area is the present-day France, Poland, like Belgium and Germany, and part of Russia. Never challenge. Respect old traditions and people's emotions. Learn from the history. If Julius Caesar would have learned from Alexander, that what happened to Alexander before me, when he did this, you know what happened, friends? The Russian Revolution, one of the reasons of Russian people going against their own Tsar was because Tsar was married to a German, not a Russian. So he challenged that tradition and people's emotions. That was one of the reasons. In Afghanistan, before Afghanistan became in the current situation, there was a king. His name was Amanatullah. He also went down because of that. Look at now you hear only about the British monarchy. You do not hear about the French monarchy. You do not hear, it has been destroyed. Russian monarchy, German king, Austrian king, Ottoman king. You don't hear about them. But there is still an English queen, a British queen. You know why? Because they marry a common Princess Diana was a common. This recent lady whom Prince Harry or Prince Williams, they married is a common. So they always married a British common. You understand, they learned from the history. When all the monarchies were destroyed, British monarchy is still there because they were flexible with the time. They respected the people's emotion and they converted their absolute monarchy into a constitutional monarchy in time. They survived. Till today they are respected. Learn from the history. Friends, when you will join a new company or new organization, you will have to make allies. Always remember, friends, you should always choose your allies carefully. Let me tell you one example from First World War. What happened in First World War? Germany was a very powerful kingdom. They have a German, you can say, Czar. Now, they had alliance with Austria, the stupid allies. Austria, they gave ultimatum to Serbia that I will attack you. Germans, they knew they are stupid. My stupid allies. And then they attacked Serbia. When they attacked Serbia and when France, England and other powers, they came into conflict, then Germany has to fight with them for the sake of honor because they are our allies. The stupid allies. And they lost First World War. What happened in Second World War? Hitler had allies who were not the rising sun. They were the setting sun. Like they had Ottoman Empire as allies, which was a Sikh empire at that time. For 600 years, the empire had survived. But now Ottoman Empire was on a decline. He had an ally which was the Italian dictator, Mussolini. They had allied like Japan. The stupid ally Japan, they attacked Pearl Harbor in the Second World War. That brought United States into the conflict. Because of which, and now their ally Mussolini, he attacked North Africa. I mean, the conflict is here. You are attacking in North Africa. Because of this, Hitler's resources got stretched. The biggest mistake he did, that he had chosen wrong allies. Always be very careful at your workplace, friend. This is one of the management lessons. Choose allies carefully. Don't make everybody your enemy. Friends, why Hitler lost World War II? Because he had a peace treaty with Russia, but he still decided to invade Russia. He opened two fronts, East and West. From the West, they were fighting with France, and he opened another front in East. He made everybody his enemy. There was no friends, and his friends were, who were his friends? Japan, sitting in Asia, Italy sitting in a corner, and Ottoman Empire, which was already in the age of decay. So they made everybody their enemy. Always remember, friends, in life, never have everybody as your enemy. Balance your enemies with friends. Build and guard your reputation. Friends, Alexander and Julius Caesar and Napoleon, they had built a reputation. Most of the wars they won without even the actual war. So you have to build and guard your reputation. There is an example. There was a civil war in China. There was a Chinese general who was trapped in a very small fort. And all the enemies were surrounding. The enemies were much more than 10-20 times in numbers and weapons. And he was having very small contingent that was staying with him in the fort. When the enemy forces were arriving, his general said that we should surrender. But this particular general, he had a reputation that he was known to be very shrewd and cunning general. So what he did, he said, open the gate of the fort, and he sat on the top of the fort gate having some sort of, a luban or something, and he sat in a dhyana mudra. Now, this enemy force, which was 10, 20 times higher than his numbers, when they reached at the gate of the fort, they didn't enter because their general said the person who is sitting on the top, he is a very smart general, and keeping the gate open and sitting in Dhyan Mudra, he must be having something. They didn't enter. The entire forces went back. Reputation. Friends, always remember in your profession, please build a reputation and guard that reputation. My last slide is, when you want to bring change in the organization, learn from the world. Always give cause and hope to people if you want to bring the change, but never lie to people. Alexander gave up because to change everything at a very short out of the box. There was a city, Istanbul. This city could not be conquered for 250 years. There was an Ottoman Sultan in 1453. He conquered the city because this city was having a waterway by which you can go and attack the fort, and that waterway was having a very big iron chain. But Mehmed II, the Sultan, Ottoman Sultan, what he did not go from that waterway. Rather, he took his ships on the ground. He dragged the ship out of the water on the hill, and then he put the ship back into the water. And Constantinople was conquered in 1453. Think out of the box. Always remember, friends, you should always know where to stop. The biggest mistake which Alexander did, he did not stop. He continued, and when he came to India, whosoever came to India, that was the end of their ambition. Because, if you look at the British, they came to India, but when they left India, now Britain has a very fabulous past, but no future. He came, Alexander, till India. He should have stopped, and he should have consolidated his empire, what Genghis Khan did in 13th century. So you should know where to stop. In your organization, if you want to bring a sustainable change, give a cause hope. Talk about reform, but do it slowly. Think out of the box, and you must know where to stop. So, friends, in this limited time, this is what I could share. I love talking on world history. There are many other leaders in the world, and we can learn from them. But for this limited session, I will stop here. And if you have any questions on any of the management principles that I have suggested, I would be very happy to elaborate. Prabdeep ji, I'm done.
Yeah.
If there are any questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mobeen. So a wonderful knowledge here today, and we still have 10 minutes to go before we conclude today. When I read this book, our history was very dangerous, and a lot of people used to die in wars earlier. But now, in these times, and there is no peace, there are differences, but these differences used to remain, were much more in the earlier times. So therefore, he wants to express the fact, I believe, that we are living in a much better times in the current times, and there is always scope for us to improve, and we can definitely become better. But he says that the situation is very good if we do not consider pandemic, and we should work hard to achieve our objectives. What's your view on this points, that today is a better time than the past, or we are in a very difficult time?
Let me tell you one thing what I have learned from the world history. The earlier when they used to colonize, like we were one of the colonies. They used to come, attack, they used to make their fort on our land, and they used to take half of our produce. That time we were all, India and all countries, basically the only profession was the agriculture. So they used to take half of our produce, and they used to capture our land. Then what happened in 20th century when they were not able to keep control by physical presence? Then this economic system was developed. Like in Mahabharata, Yudhishthira, he left a horse, and the horse was walking. And the horse was walking, and wherever horse goes, if anybody stops, that person has to fight with the Kauravas. Right. Now, this economic system is the horse, and the system which was developed actually in 1970s. So yes, we live in a peaceful time, but to be honest, still now there is economic colonization. So if you ask me, I think it will take some time before we achieve the real peace when there is real justice in the world. I mean, real justice in the world. If you look at the United Security Council, I mean, India having the population, we don't have a permanent membership and we don't have a veto. So, yes, we live in a peaceful time. But what I believe that the justice, I mean, we were colonized, and we were when India was colonized, we were one of the economic power in the world, in terms of GDP. We used to be number one, and then the way our traditional methods and things were changed to suit with the colonizers. I mean, we were pushed back. So I think it will take some time, where I would say that this is the real peace and where we have economic justice.
Right. You put a very good point regarding economic colonization, and definitely the economic inequality, has significantly increased. And I believe that this pandemic has thrown many people into poverty, and the differences between the wealth of the large groups, corporate groups, and the poor small people has been significantly increasing. But, Mubin, I read one book, Connect, by the past CEO of, and he says that he talks about leadership as a concept, which he feels is better than a stale offering of CSR. CSR, many organizations do. And he believes that as ESG and sustainability, all those things are coming up. So he believes that when any organization is developing and in any part of the world, or putting their organization, then they should look also significantly to the people around. As in India, we have, example of a Tata Group. I believe that they have worked very hard to develop the cities where they had put their steel plants. And this guy, John, he gives examples of Hershey and Cadbury, who from many years, these are the companies which 50 years, 100 years, and they, when they had started, they started working on the development of the people around and ensure that the people who are the part of that vicinity get a good life. And John gives an example that, when they were exploring an oil or putting some other plants, they had faced differences, they had faced objections from the people. But then afterwards, they realized their problem. They went back to the people and explained them, and also ensured that, the organization is not looking just at profit, but they are also looking at the development of the people, and they are not affected badly. So what's your view that are there many organizations, which are doing a great work in ensuring that, the effect of economic colonization is reduced?
The impact of economic colonization started when the physical colonization ended. The actual colonization started in the late 16th century, and in the late 20th century, then that colonization ended because we got freedom in 1947, and most of the African countries got freedom in 19 60 to 63. But before we were given freedom, we were given this currency system. The currency system, which is the fiat currency system in 1970, when dollar was unpacked from the gold. Now we have only paper currency. I mean, there is a difference between money and currency. Now coming back to this CSR, I mean, if you ask me, I little bit share like a little bit of socialist view. I mean, capitalism is not bad, but capitalism, what they do in the name of CSR, I mean, you should see what percentage of the profit or the real benefit that has been taken from a particular area is given back to the local people in terms of jobs and the local development. And what kind of environmental damage and the livelihood of the people that is caused, whether this is compensated, adequately. I mean, maybe some companies, they are saying they are doing good, but when I calculate in terms of the economic benefit that is taken from a particular area and what benefit is given back to the local people, I mean, if you ask me, I would be a little bit, you can call me skeptical whether that is happening. Right. And CSR definitely has a long way to go.
Yeah. You talked about local people, and that's what I was trying to say. And I heard one example in Africa. I do not remember exactly, but there was a farming done in one area, and when that farming was done and the produce was ready, they found out that the entire produce has gone. So later on, they found out that, from the jungles, some animals used to come and they had. And then when this organization which had done that farming, they went to the local people and they said that, this happened, you never told us about this, that this may happen in this part of the world. The local people said that you never came to us, you had got the land, you had made that produce ready, and this happened. If you would have come to us, then we could have told to you. So sometimes it happens that we do not engage with the local people thinking that we are very smart and intelligent, but ultimately we may face the problems as that organization faced. So we had a wonderful lessons shared today, Mubin, from you, and our sincere gratitude to you for taking out time. And your success mantras, the knowledge which you have shared from the world history will definitely make a big difference in the lives of our young. And is there any final words which, Mubin, you would like to say? Your final thought?
My final word will be the same to my next generation of chartered accountants. Friends, when I got a job, this part of world, a chartered accountant got the job. Mubin Khan was nobody.
Right.
Why? Because the chartered accountants before me who came to this part of world, they did extremely good service to the local community, and they did very good work, because of which I got an opportunity. And our generation, we also, we try to maintain that brand and further develop. Now the responsibility lies on you. Even in your, I mean, people, I have seen some people writing in Facebook, CA falan, and we keep posting some objectionable material, political views and religious views. My friends, if you are adding the name CA to your name, please understand that you are carrying the brand. And when we carry the brand, we have the responsibility, even in our personal life, social life. Please make sure if you are living in a society and where on your door it is written CA falan, you are carrying the brand. Your behavior, personal behavior have to be different. My friend, when you become a chartered accountant, again I will repeat, you are not anymore an ordinary individual. You are a chartered accountant. Please carry this brand with pride, with responsibility, with sensitivity, and please do better than us so that our reputation and our brand further flourishes. And again, I will say that always remember that shloka of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Ussanna kul dharmana moshanam janardhan narke niyatam vasi bhavtit nushurishuma. जो भी व्यक्ति अपने कुल और अपने ट्रेडिशन, अपने एथिक्स के खिलाफ जाके काम करता है, वो अपने आप को भी डिस्ट्रॉय करता है, अपनी सोसाइटी को भी डिस्ट्रॉय करता है, एंड अपने प्रोफेशन को भी डिस्ट्रॉय करता है. दिस वुड बी माय कंक्लूडिंग रिमार्क टू माय यंग चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट, द फ्यूचर जनरेशन ऑफ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स.
Thank you so much, Mubin, for sharing your final thoughts, which will make a big difference. Dear young members, please remember that tomorrow we will be back at 6 p.m. IST, where we have two sessions starting from role of innovation in business management by business environment by CA Dr. Indrani Hazarika, followed by a session on startup challenges, roadmap to success, moderated by CA John George, having two esteemed panelists. So please be here with us. This initiative by Committee for Members in Industry and Business under the leadership of Chuk sir and Kabra sir has been making big difference in your lives. We are just left with the last 2 days, and thank you so much for being here. Take care. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.